Hey there, everybody. Well, I've had a couple of requests to talk about a few videos that got posted on social media and got a little bit of attention. I wouldn't call it viral, but they got a little love. And basically, both of these clips, one in particular, are groove solos. Local band here in Portland, Oregon called Outer Orbit. Basically just a bunch of us around town who are super busy in a million other bands, and we always have so much fun when we get together. We kind of turn it into a thing, and whenever we can, which now being the quarantine is as often as we want because everybody's in town, we get together, little pop-up gigs in parks and the occasional distanced party type of thing. So we keep getting together and doing these things, and some clips made it online. I've said it before, I'm not a big fan of bass solos. I'd rather not take them, especially in groove context. But when I do have to take a solo in a groove context, I always default to groove solo. Because to me it just sounds weird when the bass player stops. If there's nobody playing bass on a groove thing, to me it's like half the song is missing. So I always take the opportunity to just continue on with the groove thing and maybe get a little more active with the groove thing. But me and this drummer, Tyrone Hendricks, always have a lot of fun doing this kind of thing. And I got asked to break it down a little bit. So I thought I would walk you through two of these clips that I just grabbed from online. They weren't my clips. And talk you through what I was doing. I was going to notate them, but honestly, it would probably take me all day because there's just so much rhythmic stuff going on, and I'm not even sure how useful that would be. So I thought I would actually just show you what I was playing after talking through my process for a little bit. So here it goes. In a nutshell, I have kind of a formula when it comes to groove solos. It's a little bit of throwing spaghetti at the wall with regards to what I'm going to play. I just trust that my vocabulary and my ears will take over and something cool will happen. But I do have a couple of guidelines that I tend to adhere to, and both of these clips kind of demonstrate that well. First, I try and think in longer phrases, at least 2-bar phrases, instead of just repeating 1 bar over and over again. I tend to try and think in 2-bar phrases, maybe a little, a primary phrase and then a little bit of a response to that phrase, just a slight variation of that thing to turn it into a longer piece of music. Then, because I spent so many years fishing around for things that sound, and I realized when I'm just constantly moving around looking for things, I'm not listening as actively. So 1, to sound more compositional in my approach, and 2, to give myself a chance to really settle into something and try and hear where it might want to go, I then tend to repeat that longer phrase, usually 4 times, sometimes even more, sometimes less if I'm hearing that it wants to go somewhere. But my general rule of thumb is to take a little bit of a longer phrase and then repeat that like an ostinato to build a foundation of, okay, now here's this thing. I've established that we're here. And in these examples, that's pretty much exactly what I do. I take a 2-bar phrase, repeat it 4 times, and then move that on to some other kind of thing, either trying to bring it up in level and like ramp it, or bring it back down, trying to pass the torch a little bit because I just want to get back to playing bass. So first, let's take a look at this first clip. I'll just let it play through, and then I'll talk about each section and show you what I'm playing. Third time. Fourth time. Better do something else. Phrase 1. A little something. And moving on. Let's bring it up.
Come on now, Damian. What are you doing?
I love it.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? What is that?
What is that?
And that's where it cuts off. The guitar player, Peter Knutson, plays in Ghost Note. Great guitar player, and we're lucky to have him in town here. Shot both of these clips, I think. He's always quick to whip out his phone when something's happening. So, harmonically speaking, I am pretty much just either playing a straight up dominant chord, Mixolydian scale type stuff, or minor. I tend to mix over dominant chords. I'll tend to mix in some minor because it just sounds a little dirtier. So let's take this section by section. Now this you might recognize this kind of idea from some of the other videos on the site where I talk about using chord shapes to explore tonality, especially using chord shapes and groove ideas to explore tonality. This song is in E flat dominant. All of this is over an E flat 7 chord. And what I'm doing here is actually outlining the diatonic 3-2-1 relationship of an E flat minor scale. So I'm outlining 3 chord shapes. The first one is basically, instead of a G flat major, which would be the third of the E flat minor scale, I'm playing an E flat over G flat. So I'm just playing E flat and B flat on top, a power chord with a G flat in the bass. Except I'm kind of outlining the chord, using my 3 fingers with my thumb, playing that shape, and then sliding. I do a lot of slippery, slidey stuff, but my basic thing there is E flat minor over G flat, F minor 7, just playing F, E flat, A flat, E flat 7, E flat, D flat, G flat. But I'm getting a little slippery with it. I'm outlining, kind of arpeggiating, sliding from the E flat to the F, playing the chord, and then sliding that back down to the E flat minor 7. And then I just go to a straight up E flat 7, E flat, G, A flat, 1, 3, 4. And I think I might do a little up to the 5 flat 7, little slide, a little chromatic slide. Now it might be a little dexterous for some of you, so slow that way down and just try and see the harmony there. See the shape and what I'm playing and how it relates to E flat minor for that first part, and then just E flat 7 for the second part. That line is basically 1, 3 chromatic approach to the 5, and then a flat 7, but with rhythm added to make it, do something. Let's move on to the next part. A little bit faster here. That's straight out of the Larry Graham playbook. And I'm just doing that walk up, starting the line on the third, just octaves. 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, or chromatic to the 5. And then up to the root, flat 7, playing in octaves. Oops, sorry. The second time. Little flat 3 to the 2. You can see I mix and match my minor and dominant shape. Now just a little slide. And then chromatic approach. chromatic right back to the root. That's straight out of the old school funk. That typically, historically speaking, would be a slapped line. I can't slap all that well and confidently, so I tend to do slap things finger style. And, dig in a little bit, let it get a little growly, and it sounds just as nasty. It's a little bit of a different thing, but I've always kind of liked it. Now this last part,
Come on now, Damian.
the foundation of that line is just doing a dominant 7 chord, starting a half step below E flat, and then sliding to the E flat. And I play with the placement on each side of it, again, to turn it into a longer phrase. And again, I'm mixing and matching the dominant and the minor. After I slide into that dominant chord, then I kind of rumble along with the 2 against the 2 and the flat 3, F sharp and G. I'm using a lot of notes that aren't in the scale, using that open E quite a bit. To me, you can get away with a lot of unrelated chromaticism as long as the rhythm is really there and the meat of the phrase is doing something. To me, it just makes it sound even a little grittier, It makes it sound less clean and inside the harmony. Open E. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing here. Something much like that. 2, 3, 4, anticipate. Do, and then just straight upbeat. So it's kind of the 4th 16th the first time. 2, 3 E and 4 E and 4 and 1. So a little bit anticipated and then just straight upbeat anticipation, so it straightens it out a little bit. And again, it's just that slight variation that helps turn it into a longer phrase.
Come on now, Damian.
And that line right there is, again, just me playing around with chromaticism and the dominant thing. I'm doing it all on the E string. To me, when I was playing that line, it was all about the rhythm. E flat, flat 7, 6, flat 7. And then I do a little chromatic, just literally moving down the fretboard. But it's that kind of swung, almost like kind of a Chris Dave, kind of that hip hop, jazz, neo soul kind of swing. It's not a round kind of ding a ding a ding ding a ding. It's more of a kind of a, in my mind, it looks like a squared off swing. I don't know if that makes any sense. And again, note-wise, chromatic down to the 5. Flat 7 root, 6, flat 7, chromatic to the root. 6 to the flat 7, chromatic down to the 5. And I'm really just kind of setting a little bit of target notes, but I'm not even thinking so much about what notes I'm playing down there under that. It's more about the feel and outlining a basic E flat dominant or minor kind of thing.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What is that?
And again, again, just that Larry Graham walk up. 3 to the 5, 6 to the root. So, and then just, I think I did that chromatic all the way down to the 4, I guess it is, but I wasn't thinking of it as to the 4. I was just thinking chromatically down until it's time to go back up. Something like that. I think that's what it was. That's what it is. Yeah. Then straight to the flat 7, 6, 7, then down to the 4. And I'm using my thumb because that groove feels better with my thumb. Kind of doing that kind of a thing. A little muted pluck on the A string there. And then just 1, 2. Again, it's that rhythm. It's just that rhythm and that feel that I'm focusing on. Harmonically speaking, there's not a lot going on there. Let's take a look at this other video. I'll let this one play again too. This one's got a lot of rhythm happening in there. Breaking it down because I ran out of stuff to play. That's Peter. I guess he wasn't filming this one. I don't know who was filming this one.
Y'all make some noise,
Oh,
please.
I do know who was filming this one. Another buddy of mine. Neither here nor there. Alright, so this one, all about the rhythm. This one's a D7 groove. So, that harmonic, let me show you that first. I discovered, when I got into harmonics, I kind of discovered that early on. I could just basically make kind of a major triad sound by, I see it as a diagonal line. I'm fretting, it's a D7, so I'm fretting the D on my A string, and then just making a diagonal line, playing that harmonic, 5th fret A string, the bridge side of the 4th fret on the D string, and then the headstock side of the 4th fret on the G string. That 4th fret has 2 different harmonics depending on which side of the fret you play, which side of that span you play. So you can make that sound. You can also just hold the D there and play that on top. And I like, it's fun to let those harmonics ring and then make sure to arch your fingers a little bit so you don't mute the strings, then you can play underneath them. And I am playing on the A string, so I kill that one, but I'm leaving that D and that G string ringing. And I remember when I was playing that, trying to eliminate certain notes, which actually wound up making the line sound kind of cooler. Like I felt as if I felt myself wanting to play the root and a strong part of the beat, I might just leave a quick hole and then play around it. So I was kind of having fun with the spaces in between notes there. So that whole line, there's a lot of rhythm happening there, but the whole line is just like that Larry Graham line. It's just, or Jocko or Jamerson, you know, such a common 3 chromatic to the 5, flat 7, and root. So with intentional rhythm and solid rhythm, you can make just that simple. Those notes can do so much. It's really all about the rhythm. That's the basic thing that was going through my head, and there's little variations there, here and there, but that was that. Same notes. The only difference is now I'm playing around with one, muting, and a little double strike. I'm sliding from the 3rd fret on the A string to the 5th fret, and then hitting a quick flam, 1, 2, on the open D, and then hitting the 5th fret A string again. So I'm playing 4 Ds in a row, fretted, open, open, fretted. It gives it kind of a chorusy and a little bit of a rhythmic effect, and it helps to use your thumb. Sliding with the striking on the C, sliding up, double pluck on the open string, and then thumb on the fretted D again, and then back. I think the first time I go down to the 3, the second time I stop on the 4. 3, 4. With the octave. Just straight to the 4. I believe that's what I'm doing there. I misspoke. The first time, 3 octave, 4, 5, and then stopping 3, 4. Again, to switch up, do it version A, do it version B, repeat that, and you have a longer phrase. And then right there, playing with the blue note a little bit. This one I'm starting on the 4, using an artificial harmonic. I don't really hit it all that well, so it just kind of comes out a little kind of overtony, but not completely ringing through, but bending up on the 4, so that G, the fretted G, to the flat 3. And I'm just playing a box. G, F, D, C, A, G. G, F, D, C. Again, that 2-part phrase. And the artificial, if you're not sure about the artificial harmonics, even though I'm only kind of half hitting the artificial harmonic, I'm still kind of pinching it a little bit. Watch the harmonics artificial. There's a harmonics natural and an harmonics artificial lesson. So check those out. Basically, I'm just touching the string with my thumb and plucking behind it. And just like normal harmonics, depending on where you move, you can get a different sound. And that's a pretty common kind of blues, funk type of language too, which you can hear Peter picked up on it right away. He immediately, and he's got great ears anyway, so he can pick up on a lot of things, but he starts playing it with me immediately. So that's where doing transcriptions and developing your vocabulary, learning the vocabulary of others. Like when I say I'm just copying it's just a Larry Graham lick here. A lot of what I do is either directly stolen from people or was initially directly stolen from people, but then it became my vocabulary because I've used it so much that I can change it and kind of do my own thing with it. And that's really how we learn to speak. First we have to imitate, and then we internalize, and then we present things, the conglomeration of all of our stolen licks and ideas and things we've checked out and things we've listened to, they all come out in different ways, and that becomes our own vocabulary. So in my head, I'm just thinking Larry Grant. Maybe I'm doing it my own way, but and by the way, if I am not a person who necessarily wants to take groove solos, so I kind of have somewhat of a limited approach. Honestly, if you want to go to the source, I suggest you check out some Marcus Miller, Victor Wooten, duh. There's so many, but Marcus Miller has a really nice approach to it. He has a little bit of his own formula. He has this great way of presenting a groove and then making a melodic statement. He establishes a groove, makes a melodic statement. He kind of does this call and response thing with himself, and he does it in a way that's all his own and really fantastic. So I encourage you to go to the source and check out some of that stuff as well, because you'll likely come up with some other ideas. But I got asked to talk about these videos, so I thought I would try and make this for any who was interested to talk about my approach. Come up with a simple statement, groove statement. Don't worry about being fancy. Just focus on the time and the feel, the articulation. Respond to that with a slight variation, turning it into a bigger chunk of music, and then turn that into an ostinato. Repeat that larger phrase a few times to give yourself time to simmer on something and let it simmer and bubble along, and then you might start to have other ideas and hear where that wants to go. It's kind of a basic approach to take, but for me it works. And again, I'm kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks most of the time when it comes to this stuff, because I prefer to just be back playing bass, doing my thing. With enough practice, and if you have explored enough other artists and their vocabulary to start to have a vocabulary of your own, you can really start coming up with some interesting stuff. It really is it's a groove solo, so it's more about rhythm and phrasing than notes, in my estimation. Hit me up in the community if you have any questions about this or any further thoughts or comments, or if you think of something you'd like to see me try and demonstrate here more clearly. I'm happy to give it a shot. I hope this was helpful. Have fun with it. It's a groove solo. What could be more fun than that?
Come on. Woo! Come on now, Damian. What are you doing? What are you doing? What is that?
Can y'all make some noise, please? For Tyrone Hendricks and Damian Erskine. They're my favorites. What a tarnishing.